Come on in and sit down. You cut the hardcore crew chewing the fat. You cut us shooting the shit. You cut us in the moment.
A lot of wrestlers that went from WWE to TNA went back. I want to talk about just real quick about some of the top guys. It's Hulk Hogan, Mick Foley, RVD, Ric Flair, the Hardys, and of course 3D. These guys were already established when they went to TNA, so them going back really wasn't that huge of an effect. By the way, folks, we are in the moment. I am your hardcore host, Rick Head, and as always, I have the hardcore crew here with me. First, he is the son of a bitch, Andy. Andy, what's up?
How's everybody doing?
And we have the classic wrestling manager, Joseph Knight. Joe, how we doing?
Pretty good. And I'm here.
All right. And last but not least, over at Lance Moss TV, we have the incomparable Lance Moss. Lance, what's up?
Oh, not much. A little bit tired, but doing good. Let's get it going.
While all these, we've just seen some new wrestlers, TNA, come over to NXT, and I want to start from the bottom. Samoa Joe just recently came over. He worked for TNA for several years, and now he's in WWE's NXT earlier this year. And the funny thing is, just, this past week, James Storm he left from TNA, and he's now in WWE. Now, Joe, you and I were talking a little bit before the show, and you revealed to me that TNA is trying to financially buy back James Storm because he's not under contract. So, what are your thoughts?
Well, right now, James Storm's a free agent. He's doing a couple of NXT tapings. WWE is high on him, and let's bring this out. Billy Gunn, for one of the New Age Outlaws, he's responsible for bringing James Storm in. If anybody knows Billy Gunn, he also was part of TNA some time ago with the Road Dogg.
James.
Yep,
exactly.
It was Kip James. Thank you. So, here's the situation. James Storm is currently in NXT without a contract. He's got the same deal Samoa Joe has, where he can come and technically go. TNA did offer him a large. They want him back. So far, from my understanding, they offered a few things. They offered him to go on the India tour, to continue feuding against some Indian wrestler that they have, put James Storm over, and also they threw more money on the table, and as of yet, James Storm has turned that down. My thing is, if he's a smart man, and which he is because he went to NXT, he stays in NXT. Don't go to TNA, because you'll be getting the rubber check that bounces. Stay, and at least you'll have those initials WWE in your resume, and you know it's a guaranteed steady paycheck. And if he does leave after 6 months or whatever, if his time does expire at NXT, he can still go back to TNA and do a better deal than what he's getting probably now.
Yeah, and that's a very valid point. We know that TNA's management has been really going downhill. There's been a lot of other issues. But, Andy, what I want to ask you, since these guys have gone over to NXT, and I know how you feel about, WWE and TNA, do you feel that there's any possibility of success for either James Storm or Samoa Joe?
The way as making them popular, you mean, or?
Yes. I mean, obviously, with NXT, they're going to get over and they're going to get pushed. But I'm talking when they get up to the main roster.
Well, the one thing that does worry me, if anyone listening to this now goes on to the HWR page and watches the Bobby Roode interview, I don't know what to think, because I thought James Bobby Roode would have gone to the WWE, personally, as a tag team. James Storm. Yeah. But the problem is, Bobby Roode is so far up Dixie's fanny, it's unbelievable, even though she's not paying him, and this, that, and the other. I've worked for Dixie for 11 years, and I'm going to be loyal. I'm going to be here on the sinking ship. What a complete donkey.
It could also be the fact, and, Lance, I want to bring this up to you. Yeah, Bobby Roode, obviously still with TNA. He's a great talent. But is it possible that maybe WWE just doesn't want him yet, or made an offer to him? I
think he's the better of the two. My personal opinion is I think he's the better talent of the pair of them. They're both very talented, but I think he's the better talent of the two.
I personally think they're both equal. I'm a fan of both Roode and Storm. Lance, let me ask you, do you really see these guys moving up the line when they get into the main roster, or you kind of just think they're going to get lost in the mid-card shuffle?
Well, because I think James Storm has more of a look that WWE might like than Samoa Joe does. I mean, he's got the trench coat, the cowboy hat. Yeah, they took away his beard, and that's it. It tells PG, whatever. He can still be sorry about your damn luck. Well, might have to change that a little bit, but most of his gimmick will work in WWE. Samoa Joe, they might have to work on a little bit.
Yeah, that's very possible. I think with Joe and his gimmick is going to work, but WWE doesn't necessarily, like the bigger guys or but you got guys like Kevin Owens that's in there, and he's a great worker. Let's move along. Let's go up the line a little bit. Now, Sting obviously was in TNA, but he was established. Now he's over in the WWE, and despite his fame, despite his legacy, he's not really had a lot of luck. Joe, what's your thoughts on that?
Basically, he's just playing the field, and he's also going for the role of trainer. You got to remember, these guys have, after years on the indie scene, years on being in a lost company like TNA, for them to be even in just NXT is the pinnacle of what they were hoping for. If they get into the Raw or SmackDown full time, I feel they're going to be lost in the shuffle. It's better for them to be in NXT and stay there. Joe, say what you will about his look, he's perfect fit for NXT. And here's a little joke I threw out. I'm hoping they put James Storm and him together, and they could be called Tough and Angry TNA. Their finishing move is the Impact, and they could be Hail from Dixie.
Yeah, and you know what? I think that would be good, and I think that would certainly be a rib to TNA. But in all honesty, WWE really doesn't have to worry about them because they're starting to take their talent, and they're coming over, and fans are marking out. Even though, it's a smart mark because a lot of other people are like, who the hell are these guys? But the point is now they become more famous than they were before.
You know what, Rick? Let me also throw in one thing, too. While in NXT, if you guys noticed, they are keeping their original names.
Exactly.
James Storm actually came out in NXT with his TNA Titantron, with his little skull with the cowboy hat and James Storm. So at least they're giving these guys the nod to say, hey, they're James Storm, this is Samoa Joe. At least they are recognizing them as that. Maybe they'll come under a different name when they come into the main roster.
I don't think so. Honestly, because people know him, who he is. Now, they have done that in the past, where they've brought in certain wrestlers up from different gimmicks. But I think because they have that history of who they are, and fans, the smart marks, know who they are, I find that hard to believe. Now, I want to move on to another name. Now, we know Christian from Christian and Edge. He was in the WWE, went over to NXT, and he had a successful run. He was actually, a lot of us here agreed in the hardcore crew, agreed that Christian really did have a better run in NXT, in TNA. Andy, would you agree or disagree?
I'd agree, and the reason why he had a decent run is because people in NXT gave the guy the chance. The guy is a world-class wrestler. Vince just doesn't like him.
Yeah, and, he did eventually go back to WWE, and a lot of people think that was a favor for Edge, especially one where he won two title runs, which was very, very short. Lance, Christian, should he stayed in TNA or should he gone back to WWE?
Well, they gave him the one more match gimmick in WWE after he came back. So, to me, his best work as a singles wrestler was in TNA. So, he should have stayed in TNA, milked it a little longer until they didn't have any more money to pay him because he was knocking out some good shit in TNA.
Joe, over to you. Your thoughts about Christian kind of doing the flip-flop.
Well, you know what? Christian by himself was no more than a mid-carder. And when he joined TNA, let's face it, Christian wasn't the best wrestler around. He was a mid-card guy. He was a lower guy on the rung. How did this make TNA look good when you have a mid-card guy come from the WWE to your promotion where you're trying to make your promotion the better, and here's this mid-carder coming in and winning your world title all really rather quickly and holding a huge storyline. That's like Steve Lombardi coming into the TNA and winning their world title. And Steve Lombardi, the Brooklyn Brawler, was a jobber.
Yeah, and that's a very valid point. I think the reason why they tried to give Christian, obviously, was for his fame from Christian and Edge, and that really, we will have to admit, Edge was the one that carried that team. Granted, they were good together, but, when they split, Edge was the one that truly shined. I want to move on a little bit more. We have other guys. I want to talk about the guys who actually went to TNA. We keep on saying NXT, to TNA, and succeeded. Now, one person who I really think stands out the most is Taryn Terrell. She was in WWE from 2008 to 2010, where she was like the ECW general manager. That's WWE's brand, which was fucking terrible. After she had a spat with her then husband, Drew McIntyre, also known as Drew Gallows of TNA, she left. And within I think a year and a half, she went to TNA. She did take a maternity leave, but that was it. But she's still under contract, and she's still, and I have to say, probably one of the most impressive wrestlers that TNA has today, the female wrestlers, the knockouts. Joe, your thoughts about Taryn Terrell leaving from the WWE, going to TNA, and having a better career?
Well, we all remember, too, she came in first as a referee, then she took time off. Then she came back as a wrestler. It was a good thing for them, for TNA. It was a good move for Taryn Terrell because it proved that she's still capable of being still a good performer in the ring. And she isn't, she's very smart because she knows given a couple more months maybe, she can now return to the Divas division in the WWE or even go to NXT. So she's playing the cards right. Okay.
Now, I want to give a couple of shout-outs to some of our viewers and listeners over on our chat room. Kevin Watson said that, by James Storm and Samoa Joe, all these guys coming from TNA to NXT, really benefits the WWE, and I think we're all pretty much in agreement so far for these two, because these two have been doing good in NXT. Now, while they're not officially under contract, they're getting that recognition. David Jr., I can't pronounce his last name, so forgive me, I'm not even going to try, no offense. Thank you very much. Sorry, David. The TNA's down, but not out. Just younger guys and gals from the indie make veteran contracts just like MVP, American Wolves, AJ Styles left. Even though TNA doesn't have TV network, so closing the door to young, hungry wrestlers, just be an indie company like 2000 and 2001 before it got the fresh TV network, should be on pay-per-view again. Charge $10 again when 2002 starts. Believe in TNA move forward to the future. And you know what? That's probably not a bad idea, because sometimes in life or in any business, you got to take a couple of steps back before you move forward. Joe, I know how you are. You're very outspoken, so I'm going to jump to you first. Do you think if TNA could have just took those few steps backward, they can move forward?
Absolutely not. You just can't take this company and throw it on pay-per-view. And hope that the buy rates do like when they first started. Their company's too tarnished right now. It's too destroyed. They need to go back on a mainstream. I hate to say it. They need to go back to Spike, and they need to secure that time zone. They need to get that schedule, because if they don't, going to any other, right now they're just flopping back and forth to networks. It's not helping them. So they need to go back to a major network like Spike. And I got to say to David Apollinaris, #1 CWA fan, has always been to all our shows.
We always appreciate any of our listeners and people coming on our shows and listening to our shows. That's what makes HWR great, and we appreciate all of your support. Andy, I'm going to toss this one to you because I know how you feel about WWE and TNA. Kevin Watson said this, a lot of people who left for TNA have done so due to Triple H and Vince McMahon. Now, Andy, your theory has always been that the people who went from WWE to TNA was there to sabotage the company. So why don't you tell everybody your thoughts?
I still think it is. I think he sent people like Hulk Hogan as a prime example. Give him a little pat on the back, go down there, rape them for money, because when they've got no money, they're not any competition. And he did it, I don't care what anyone says, he did it with WCW. Any competition from the inside is the easiest way of attacking it. But there's one thing I do want to say, for the guys that are clued up. I think the guy's called Billy Corgan, or Corgan, whatever his name is. He used to be in the Smashing Pumpkins. $50 million multi-millionaire, boasts himself as one of the best marketing men in the business. He's been with the company now, 6 months? What the fuck has he done? What have you done, you bull-headed fuckwit? Only brain-dead people listen to his music, so do we really think that we're going to follow what he's got to say? It's the first time I've seen the guy in years on the pay-per-view when he gave Earl Hebner Long Service Hall of Fame award, which was pretty well justified when I saw him get in the ring. If this guy's got 50 million quid in the bank, he only spends about £3.50 on his fucking suit. He was disgraceful.
And you can't think I rant.
And that's why we call him the son of a bitch. But, Andy, I do have to argue with you about one fact.
Hey, you know who should be their main creative guy? Hornswoggle. Imagine that, him coming in a little suit saying he's running everything.
Well, let's move along, guys. I did want to talk about Hulk Hogan for a second, and we're going to move on from here. Hulk Hogan has always been about himself. Even when he went to WCW, he was there before the Monday Night Wars even went full effect, and I think Hulk Hogan saw the dollar signs. Same thing when he went to TNA. I think that was the dollar signs. Now, as far as the other people like Mick Foley or Rick, that's a strong possibility that they went into sabotage or to get a little bit of intel. I want to move on to somebody who was in the TNA, that was the WWE, that was extremely successful, and that is CM Punk. CM Punk had, he was with ROH and had a very, very short stay with TNA. When he was with ROH, he got his WWE contract. Now, it took him a couple of years to get from ECW, the WWE's version of ECW, up to the main roster. And from there, that's really where he started to shine. He's the only guy to date who's won the Money in the Bank twice. He's won multi-champions, probably one of the best guys on the mic, and he's the only real success story to date that we could talk about.
Rick,
I want to move on.
I'm going to cut you off. We cannot really count CM Punk because his tenure in TNA was so short. I don't think he qualifies because compared to guys like Robert Roode, James Storm, Samoa Joe, those guys had longevity in TNA. I think CM Punk just came and went. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Exactly.
Well,
he was more of an LOH guy.
Yeah, he was very, very short. I don't deny his time there, but the point is, he was an indie guy, or even the TNA, we call it glorified, but he came to the WWE, and he boomed. He showed that you can come into the company from another wrestling company and shine. He was even in Ring of Honor, which everybody knows is still a very popular indie company. One guy that unfortunately failed miserably was Kazarian, also known as Kaz. He worked for TNA. He was considered a TNA original. Brief time, he left. He went to the Indies, and he went to WWE in 2005, and he wasn't even there for a year. And then he had to go back to TNA in 2006, where he remained in the company until he left for Ring of Honor in 2014. Now, Lance, why do you think Kaz just didn't make it in the WWE?
Honestly, I think Kaz at that time he was probably a little too young at the time. Probably. Okay. But y'all keep forgetting the name that keeps coming up in my mind, and this is like a name way back in TNA jumped over, Monty Brown. He went to the WWE, ECW. They bastardized the hell out of him.
And that is true. And again, I want to bring this over to Andy. Do you think that's what they were doing when they tried to bring him over there and he just failed miserably? You think they were trying to downsize them?
I've got an horrible feeling with Kaz that there was some backstage incident. Now, as far as I know, without checking, I think he's straight. Because I know he's got a child, because I've seen him in the ring once with his child.
Yeah, well, so does Tom Cruise.
Straight. I mean, that doesn't mean he's straight just because he's got kids, but I'm sure I heard some dirt rumours that he was coming out gay, and it's when WWE went into that sort of thing, but now they seem to put their arms around it.
Well, I'm going to move on to somebody else, and I want to get Joe's thoughts on this. Another person that went from TNA that was very successful, went to the WWE and failed, is Karma, also known as Awesome Kong in TNA. Why do you think she failed? Do you think they, again, were just trying to bastardize TNA talent, or do you think she just didn't fit?
To be honest, she just didn't fit. You don't put a big bruiser in with a bunch of Playboy bunnies. And they just didn't have a Gail Kim to work with Awesome Kong. And just to go back to Kazarian real quick, the only reason he didn't make it because it was timing. Let's say Kazarian went back today he would fit because the current theme is a little bit smaller guys. It's all about timing, and it's all about what can you do with a person. And in Karma's case, again, she was just this huge brawling monster. Really, look at everybody. What can you do with her? So in a legit fight, Karma will probably cripple everyone in that Divas division.
Please, Eva Marie. Please put her in a match with Eva Marie.
Now, another person, again, you mentioned Gail Kim, and she was another person that was originally in WWE. Her career really wasn't that great the first round. I mean, she did win the title once. Then she went to TNA. Again, she started to boom huge. It got big. But for one reason or another, she went back to WWE, and again, she went there for a very short time because she wasn't even in jobber status. It was like she just did almost like a cameo appearances, and the matches she did were nowhere near the quality of what in TNA. She's now in TNA. She's won several titles. I think she's currently the TNA Knockouts title. I'm not sure. I haven't watched TNA in a bit. She was that big of a person. She was well over. Andy, I'm going to go over to you real quick. I know you are not a fan of Gail Kim. Do you think she should have stayed in TNA, or do you think she should have kind of hung out in WWE?
She should have stayed TNA. I don't think she's a WWE star. She's definite no sell. I've heard people say John Cena doesn't sell. She couldn't sell a program in the arena. But I've just found out some scandal, some dirt, while we were talking about Kazarian, suicide, call him whatever you will. I think I know why he'll never work for the WWE, ever.
Why is that?
I didn't realise until I just looked on Wikipedia, or Famous Friends, but he's married to Tracy Brooks. Now, there's a bit of controversy with Tracy Brooks and Vince McMahon. She basically stormed in his office one day when she was on a tryout and called him sexist, and he ordered her out the room. Now, if he's married to her, as he marked his card, in my opinion, hell yeah.
Well, and you mentioned Tracy Brooks, which I didn't even realize or don't remember her working over in the WWE. She went to TNA. She had some success.
She was just a pair of tits. She was nothing.
Exactly.
A nice pair of tits.
But I didn't realise she'd had a tryout, and then after the tryout, apparently Vince was ogling round the arena, round the ring apron, and she sort of stormed in his office and said, I was here for a tryout, not a fucking perv. And he was one of them. We'll be in touch. See ya.
Yeah, you're right. And I think, like you said, they just, it was bad spots, bad air, and bad publicity. But you know what? Since we're talking about, knockouts and divas, I want to move on to our next subject. We're not going to bring back an old segment we haven't done in quite some time, and that's what we call Super Fuck, Marry, and Kill. Now, you're going to ask, what's the difference between MFK and Super MFK? Well, instead of 3 people, we put 5, but you can still only pick the 3. Guys, I'm going to put this on the table for you. We have Nikki Bella, AJ Lee, Stephanie McMahon, Dixie Carter, and, of course, Tammy, a.k.a. Sonny Sitch. So, Andy, I'm going to start with you. Who would you fuck, who would you marry, and who would you kill?
Throw it round to one of the others. I'll write them down, and then I'll give you the answer.
Joe, out of the FMK, who would you have? Who would you pick out of the 3?
Oh, great. You have to say that. You have to ask me that question when the wife is...
Well, okay.
Let's see here. You have to kill Dixie Carter because you want to... That's... you want to marry Dixie Carter, then kill her, because she has the Panda Energy money. And
no, she don't.
Yes, she does. You can always...
It's mommy and daddy's money, but it's close enough.
Yeah, exactly. And I can use that to fund CWA. Lord knows I'll probably do a way better job. To F1, let's see here. Oh, jeez. I have to say Nikki Bella, because that's the only attractive one there. I already used that. I had to kill Dixie Carter. Let's see. You will have to marry Stephanie McMahon. Because, again, that's the money. It's all about money.
Okay, so it's fuck Nikki Bella, marry Stephanie McMahon, and kill Dixie Carter.
I've got mine now.
I'm going to...
Okay.
We got to hear this.
Andy, over to you.
I'd fuck Stephanie McMahon, because she needs a real good fucking, because Triple H ain't capable.
Yep.
I would definitely kill Sonny, because I think she's got every disease on the planet, like he's getting rid of.
Just like she killed her career.
And I would definitely marry Nikki Bella, without a shadow of a doubt, but I'd like AJ Lee as, I don't know what you call them, a bit on the side.
Yeah, okay, you're a little side freak. All right. And Lance, over to you.
I'd fuck Stephanie, marry AJ, because that'd be a lot more fucking, and kill, well, I'd shoot Dixie in the head with Sonny right behind her.
She'd still survive because even though you've taken the brain out, it wouldn't make any difference.
For me, I'm going to be honest with you. And of course, I got Ms. Jack Ship listening right behind me. She's like, I'm listening, so I know I'm going to be in trouble after we hear this. I would put Sonny out of her misery and just kill her. I would definitely fuck AJ Lee because I think she's just downright sexy. And if I had to marry somebody, it's got to be Stephanie McMahon just for the money and success. And you know what, guys?
That's a lie, Rick. You told me in strictest of confidence not to say this, but I'm going to say it now. You said to me the other day you've got the hots for Nick Olbass and you'd marry her any time.
Hey, that was between us, okay? And I didn't say, I only said I would fuck her because, I'd have to try her once, and I want to fuck a freak, okay? Yes, you be the freak I'd fuck. The secret's out.
He wants those steel buns. Well, no,
That's
I
right.
seen her recently.
Rick.
You know what, though, while we're on the subject, if I had to do a three-way, it would be with China and, of course, Nicole Bass. All right? I am a fucking freak.
Tell you what, if I was in a room with China and Nicole Bass, it to be a competition who's got the largest cock.
With that, folks, we are going to wrap up this fucked up version of In the Moment. We're going to get back. Who do you guys would like to see over from TNA to go to NXT? Would it be somebody like Bobby Roode? Or do you think that the roster is doing fine the way they are? Of course, also, you heard our FMK. Who would you like to fuck? Who would you like to marry? And who would you like to kill? Please, put your comments in the comment section below and take a few seconds, hit that subscribe button and support Hardcore Wrestling Radio. And if you want to speak out, go over to our chat room on Facebook under the name HWR Chat Room. We always have my sidekick. He's my partner. He is the son of a bitch, Andy. Andy, what do you got going on? Yep. Where can people find you?
Got an investigation, paranormal investigation, for those that don't know, on Saturday. Just a little thrown in quick thing, so it's nothing going to be major. You can contact me at www.stokehaunted.com. And the fuck, marry, kill is not for the team members. We don't want you to vote on fuck Rick, marry Lance, and kill me, because that's what we want.
Unless if you're a very hot if you're a hot HWR fan, then female, of course, then you know what, we might make an exception to the rule. Because we are sexist motherfuckers. Lance, we have the incomparable Lance Moss. You can find him over at Lance Moss TV. Lance, what do you got going on?
Well, I got album reviews. It's over album reviews, NASCAR reviews, or NASCAR discussion videos, redneck gourmet cooking videos, musical equipment reviews. Every Wednesday, I go live at 7 Central. I never know who the hell's going to show up. And hit me up on Twitter. It's at Lance Moss TV.
All right. And last and certainly not least, he is the classic wrestling manager, Joseph Knight. Joe, what do you got going on? Where can people find you?
Well, they can find me on Twitter at JKnightCWA. They can also find me on Facebook at facebook.com, Joseph Knight Manager. Basically, right now, I'm just taking some time off. But for the first 100 fans that like this video, they'll get an autographed picture of Andy in a diaper.
Nobody wants that.
Or if you prefer, without the diaper.
Hey, well, you know what? I think that's a little too much there, but you know
hardcore.
What? Yeah, exactly. Well, you know what? We're never too hardcore, but that's a little too X-rated for me. And it's a vision I really don't want stuck in my head for the rest of my life. But for the hardcore crew, I am your hardcore host, Rick Head, saying we'll see you when we see you. Thank you for listening to this edition of In the Moment. Make sure you follow us at any one of our locations, whether it's YouTube, Dailymotion, and now SoundCloud.com under the name HWR Show. Until the next time, this is your hardcore host, Rick Head, saying we'll see you when we see you.